Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Russia-installed local leader says tens of thousands of civilians and Russian-appointed officials are being moved out of Ukraine's Kherson region ahead of a Ukrainian offensive. Vladimir Saldo said 50 to 60,000 civilians would leave 4 towns on the west bank of the Dnieper River in an organised gradual displacement. All Russian-appointed departments in Kherson city would cross the river too. Russian TV footage showed Kherson residents, some of whom took pets, gathering near the Dnieper River, queuing for boats. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin declared martial law in the 4 regions of Ukraine that Moscow annexed and gave additional emergency powers to the heads of all regions of Russia. Putin didn't immediately spell out the steps that would be taken under martial law, but said his order was effective starting Thursday. His decree gives law enforcement agencies 3 days to submit specific proposals and orders the creation of territorial defense forces in the 4 annexed regions. A large crowd at Tehran airport has greeted an Iranian sports climber who competed without a headscarf in a competition in South Korea, calling her a heroine. A crowd of well-wishers cheered, clapped and chanted "Elnaz is a heroine" outside the terminal building at Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport. 33-year-old Elnaz Rekabi broke Iran's strict dress code, but later said her hijab had fallen off inadvertently. Many are skeptical about the reason she gave in a state TV interview at the airport. Iranian women are required to cover their hair with a headscarf and their arms and legs with loose clothing. Female athletes must also abide by the rules when they are officially representing Iran in competitions abroad. Iran is currently gripped by protests against the hijab laws and its clerical leaders after the death of Asa Amini, a 22-year-old woman arrested by morality police in Tehran on the 13th of September for allegedly wearing her headscarf too loosely. The UK Prime Minister has said she is a fighter, not a quitter, in Wednesday's Prime Minister's questions.
Mr. Speaker, the only mandate she's ever had is from members opposite.
It's after the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, called on Liz Truss to resign for crashing the economy, asking the PM, why is she still here?
Show for it, except the destruction of the economy and the implosion of the Tory party.
Ms Truss apologised for the mistakes she had made as she faced MPs for the first time since almost all her tax cut plans were ditched.
I am a fighter and not a quitter. I have acted in the national interest to make sure that we have economic stability.
Kenya's Maasai herders are struggling to keep their cattle alive in a severe drought, with some animals selling for 70 times less than previously. Livestock are central to the traditional Maasai way of life, not only as the main source of food and income, but also as a marker of social status. But Kenya, along with neighbouring Ethiopia and Somalia, is experiencing its worst drought in 40 years, with 4 consecutive rainy seasons having failed to materialise, wiping out livestock and crops in some regions. Aid agencies say food and vital supplies are needed urgently to stop the crisis from worsening. And a helicopter paramedic training to fly an Iron Man-style jet suit to get to mountain rescue casualties faster has flown in strong winds and rain for the first time. Jamie Walsh, an emergency paramedic with the Great North Air Ambulance Service, has been helping to test the technology's suitability for use by paramedics while learning to fly. The test flights in England's Northern Lake District, supported by Danish renewable energy company Ørsted, took place in heavy rains and winds gusting at more than 30 miles per hour.
Yes, I've been involved with the jet suit programme for about a year or so now. It's been going really well. We've had probably about 8-9 days worth of training to get to a point now where we're in a position to actually reach a casualty on a mountainside in Cumbria is really exciting, and it's a really key day-to-day to be able to do that in the difficult rain, wind conditions, because obviously in Cumbria it rains and it's windy a lot, so yeah, it's went really, really well.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.